Hey guys, it's Bad Snacks here. Today I have a very fun little video for you, which is my breakdown of the track that I made for STEEZY's reverse choreography video that just came out featuring myself and Slim Boogie, the dancer. It's a super fun video where basically Slim had to dance to nothing but a click. Then they sent me the video of him dancing to that click. I had to compose something, which is what I'm about to show you. And then I had to send him the track, and then he had to create a new dance on top of that. It's an amazingly cool process, and I highly encourage you to watch that video. And I'm just gonna be explaining how I made the track. So you can see that I have my Ableton session open. It's a little bit of a mess because that's just how I operate. I'm going to be talking about my approach to the track, some composition stuff, and some mixing stuff. And yeah, this was a really fun process for me, so I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So the very first thing that I did with this track is I watched his entire choreography like a billion times, and I actually mapped out every single hit. So the way that Slim dances is very kind of like technical and a little bit glitchy, but also fluid at the same time. It was very interesting. So the first thing that I did is I mapped out every single kind of like assertive movement with either a kick or a snare. The May kick from Monty Booker's pack, and then the count side stick, and then I extracted MIDI after consolidating it, and you can convert drums to new MIDI tracks. So I basically just took all of these kind of weird snare hits, and then I converted it to MIDI, and then just replaced the sound with a clap to kind of just thicken the sound of the snare. So, you know, we have kind of these hits like this. So there's that. There's a moment where he's doing this zigzag pattern with his right arm, and it actually reminded me of bowing. And if you guys follow my channel at all, you know that I'm a string player. So I was like, let's figure out what he's playing there. So I literally stood there in front of my computer with my mic and my violin trying to come up with a line that he might be playing, and this is what happened. And so that became kind of like an anchor for a lot of the track. Obviously, before that moment, need something. So I wanted to build it up with something kind of mysterious. So I was just sitting there with my little MIDI keyboard and came up with this chord progression that I felt was like a little bit mysterious, but had the potential to build. And this is on the Omnisphere patch called Dream Piano, and it sounds like this. So then I layered it with another electric piano kind of sound from Arteria, the Stage 73 with a RC20 on it. This is actually a little instrument rack that I've set up for myself before with a little compressor, and then a sound shifter so that I could automate when it would swoop down with his hands. Just like that. I took a lot of his movements very literally in this first pass. Also, real quick, this very first sound here, this very ominous thing, it's actually from the click sounds from the original video. So I just took that, reversed it, repitched it, and it put a little verb on it and panned it, and it became this very like cool wind sound. And I put it in a couple different places in the track. So let's get into the drums real quick. So here's my drum group. So I have my kick, my snares layered. I have a little kind of cut up part of a loop with cool tops here. And then down here I have this tambourine loop that I reversed, and then I put through the Good Hertz Lossy that gives it this crazy effect. So without it, which is still cool, but then putting this on it. This was kind of when the whole picture comes together, and then we're grooving a little bit. So then when we have this full context, we have the dream piano. We also have two basses in here. So we have a clipped sine bass on Omnisphere. So I have actually two of those. And one is being put through a camel crusher. And the other one is just being put through a compressor. And together, so thick. So then you have the full beat drop. You can also see that I made markers all throughout the session when I was first looking at the choreography of being like, oh, there could be a beat drop there. This is definitely where I want the violin line. I want a swoosh here for his leg movements. And then I ended up going with this beat drop here, another swooshy thing, string things. Yeah, just trying to organize myself as best as I could. So then the next thing that I did is I took that original violin line, like from the right? And I repitched them with Sound Shifter and just took like little parts of it. And you can hear that I panned it to kind of go along with his movements. I tried to incorporate little bits and pieces of that original violin memo like all throughout the track, but in different ways. But then there are also all of these little micro moments that he does, like little micro movements, I guess. And I tried to use different sound effects. So I actually used this little bloop from my own sample pack, just verbed it out and slowed it down by half. And then I have all of these kind of sound effects. This was really fun. I took a water sample and then I expanded it by warping it and making it twice as long. And then I went to texture mode and made it sound kind of like granular. Sounds like an alien. So this is actually one of my favorite parts of the original choreography, is when we go from these very rigid motions into this very like fluid movement. And I pulled up this Omnisphere patch where I was able to reverse these kind of like bell samples within Omnisphere and then just like super verbed them out and layered them with the violin. And then for this moment, I wanted to really make sure I was matching all of his hits, and I used the glitchies for that. So, and then this is those original violins, but sound shifted way down, slowed way down, and so it has this kind of like very slow vibrato thing. And then I have like a white noise lifter being thrown through the tremolator by Sound Toys, and it's on a setting that it gets faster as it goes. So that's kind of like a nice little rhythmic riser. And then for the very end, I wanted it to be this really aggressive kind of cool moment, because there's a moment where he like looks up at the camera and he's kind of like in go mode or whatever, and I just wanted to emphasize that, I guess. So it's the same basses as before, mixed slightly differently. So now I have the sub of the bass kind of in mono, so it's a little bit more centered, and Camel Crusher is just cranked up just a little bit. And then I like to leave it kind of open-ended. Yeah, so that's more or less how I made the track. And this was just such a fun experience, and if you haven't seen the video already, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you check it out, because it is so cool. Thanks for watching.